flagged him. He kind of ignored me. So I went ahead and I got up. And I tried to go walk toward him. Well, he's making like he's busy doing something. Saw me coming and he like moved away. What are you doing? So we started this slow chase through the restaurant. Because I'm trying to get him. I don't want to raise a fuss. I don't want to, you know, go out of order or anything like that. But I finally got it down. I said, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to get a hold of you. I wanted to know, did you order my steak? He said, sir, I put your order in. It'll be right out. I said, well, that's great. He said, but I swear when I watched you turn in my order, you said the words hot dog. He said, well, we're having a problem. You know, steak is difficult. It's tough to get a really good steak. But we did order you meat. You'll be very satisfied. I want you to have a seat. No, that's not how this works. I ordered steak. I expect to get steak. What's the problem? You said I was going to get steak. You said it was a great choice. So he went ahead and he said, sir, if I could just ask you not to raise a fuss, please go sit down. Can I show you to your seat? Okay. So I went ahead and I sat down, and sure enough, he ordered me a hot dog. Got a hot dog at my table. Now, I learned later that night that I'm one of the owners of the restaurant. In fact, you're also an owner of that restaurant. And we're ordering steak an awful lot, and we're getting hot dog back. If you follow what I'm saying. I will tell you that the nice thing about being an owner is you're an owner with me. The nice thing about being an owner is we're in charge of the HR department. So we can hire and fire the staff. I am more than happy to roll up my sleeves and get to work as is necessary. Because you might know a business that did really, really well for a long time. And the owners thought that they could go ahead and step away from the business, leave it in some capable hands. And when they did, they trusted that the business would continue as it was. But as sometimes happens, the business falls into disrepair. It ends up not being what it was. The service is subpar, the product is poor, and so as a result, it ends up being worse. And I'll tell you the bad thing about this restaurant, somehow we got this fella Barack Obama promoted to kitchen manager. I don't understand how that happens. But now the product's really poor. And what's more is every time we order, he's handing our food out the back door to people we don't even know. It's horrible. So I would tell you that as every owner who owns a business, they have to sometimes go back in if they've stepped away from the I imagine many of you have families, or you're very concerned about your families in all of this. But I'm doing this, I just go over Texas. My background is corporate strategy, marketing, things like that. So I do this because I'm trying to solve a problem. And the problem is that we don't have the right people in office. They're not listening. They're not representing us to the degree that they If you follow sports at all, you understand that you can have a tremendous defense. Like in soccer, for example. If I've got a goalie who 99 times out of 100 will stop that ball, pretty good goalie. But that one time that the ball gets through, that's a score. Doesn't matter how great your defense is. If you don't have offense, you won't win the game, right? So, we hear all the time that we need to defend the Constitution, defend our rights, defend our liberties. We are great at defense. How many of you feel like we're really good at offense, too? That's what I thought. So that's why tonight what I aim to do is I aim to give you two simple tools. Very simple tools that will enable you to feel more powerful and to actually have a voice in politics. Because I'm tired of losing. Are you tired of losing with me?
Yes.
Yes. I have a very simple definition for a solution. A solution is what works. If what you're doing is not working, then don't do it anymore. Repeating it won't make it better. A solution is what works. I believe that out of all the things that the founders wrote, the most powerful sentence in everything that they wrote was the final sentence of the Declaration of Independence. The final sentence of the Declaration of Independence says, "We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." The reason I believe that's the most powerful sentence is because I believe it is a blueprint for how we win today. And just as they won liberty, just as they won freedom, I believe that if we follow that example, we can again do this. So without you raising your hand or any kind of show or anything, I just want you to think internally. If you had an opportunity to stand with those men on that day, to sign the Declaration of Independence for your freedom, for your family's freedom, would you have done so? When they signed that document, it was not just a statement. It was a death warrant. When they signed that document, had King George had the opportunity at that moment to have an assassin in the room, he would have gotten rid of every man who stood and signed that document. You make a commitment when you want to fight for liberty. This is not something we just do from Facebook or our computer. It's not something we do from our armchair watching TV. We make a commitment when we fight for freedom, when we fight for liberty. We make a commitment to do that. My goal is that tonight, more of you are more active than ever before. If you want to know what a revolution looks like, this is what a revolution looks like. It's very graphic, I know. When an incumbent who is not representing you is challenged, which means somebody has to step forward to do that, and they lose because more of you believe that the challenger will represent you than those who believe the incumbent will represent you. That's when you have a revolution. It doesn't matter what level of office it is. It can be as simple as precinct chairs. It can be as complicated as President of the United States. The person who challenges an incumbent is brave, but is also incredibly, they're a novice. I'll just put it that way. They don't know how to do this. But here's the important thing to know. It's not up to them. And too often we leave it up to them. It's up to you. You're the restaurant owner. You can put the staff in place as you want. The staff might be doing the things that you want, but you are the restaurant owner. You decide who is going to go ahead and work there. It's completely up to you. Everybody thinks about how they want to change the world. So we pick on the people that we know who are representing us or not representing us. We pick on them, we say, oh, they're not doing their job. If only they do their job. It'd be great if they, do the right thing. Stick to the Constitution. Let's start with what we can really control. Let's start with us. The only person you can change is you. The only reason that you don't have the representation you want is likely you. Having studied revolutions, I will tell you that all revolutions are won by a handful of people who were so committed they just did not quit. I run into a lot of Republicans today who are dispirited. I tell them, why are you unhappy? Today we have more people in government who believe in the founding principles of our country than ever before. Yes? I tell them, we have more Republicans now in office who, at least we're pushing them that way. The base, you, would you have been here 8 years ago? No. More of us are more inclined to get involved and do things and get involved than ever before. But you don't win a battle all at once. It's an incremental thing. And we are incrementally winning. So Mike was telling me that you guys had a banner year as Republicans, if you're Republican. He said that the Republicans had a banner year here in the county, yes? A lot of Republicans got elected. Are they yet doing what you want them to do? Or are you having your local politics or your local representation changed enough that you're happy with everything that's going on? If not, then you still have work to do. Like I said, it's incremental. You get the right people in place, then you continue to lean on them and work on them. But it is incremental. And I believe that we can turn this all around. Consider the fact that at times in history, things completely changed. I'll give you a great example of what changed. In 2008, who would have thought that we would have had a more socialist country in 2014 than we did in 2008? Not to the degree that it is today. I wouldn't have thought this was possible. So, just as that happened, we can turn this the other way. In fact, we can turn it really the other way. So the first thing you have to do, if we're to follow what the founders said at the bottom of the Constitution, or the bottom of the Declaration of Independence, they said, we pledge our honor. If I were to translate lives, fortune, and sacred honor into today's terms, that is time, money, and reputation. The thing that I find that people will easily give most is money, believe it or not. If I say I've got a good candidate and I want you to go ahead and write a check, the check is somewhat impersonal, 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks. I can write a check, here's a check, thank you very much, you hand it in, it's all done. The next level up is your time. Want to come make some phone calls, block walk, talk to some people? Okay, you need me to deliver yard signs? I can do that. But the hardest thing that I find is when I tell people it would be great if you would talk to your friends and your family, people that you personally know about all of this and try to get them to turn out. A really smart guy named Dunbar did a study, and he found that on average, all of us know about 150 people by first name. So think about that. Across your friends, your family, your neighbors, coworkers, people with whom you go to church, those with whom you do business, or maybe, like Nolan's here, you visit their business, groups that you're a part of, associations that you're a part of, like this one. 150 people that you know by first name, and they know your first name. Can you think of 12 people who you think might vote with you, but you don't know that they would vote with you? That if you ask them, hey, I'm going to go vote, want to come with? Because you've already had that conversation with them, they say, yeah, let's do this. Republicans, and libertarians especially, are not known for their community activism. They're rugged individualists. They want to go and do things all by themselves. Doing it as a group, who would do that? So, if you go ahead and you make the commitment to go ahead and speak with people whom you know, it's not any more difficult than this. So the first part of this is that you make the commitment that you're going to speak to one person per month over the next year. You'll pick 12 people out of those 7 groups that you're going to talk to. You're going to say it down and you're going to say, hey, you know what? Let's go to coffee. Can we have lunch? And then when you sit down with them, you then ask them, you know, I'm really concerned about the direction of our country. Are you? Yeah, I am. I thought you might be. You know, I think it's really important to vote. I imagine you vote. Did you vote? Can I get you to come with me? You know anybody else we can bring with us? You just start having a conversation. That's all it is. Leave the door open. Don't argue with them. Nothing else. Just have the conversation. Open that up. For every 9 voters in 2008 and 2012 who went and voted Republican, had they brought a 10th voter with them, Barack Obama would not have been president. We don't go together. We don't do this together. We don't organize ourselves. And while I hear a lot of people make jokes about a community organizer, I will tell you that community organizer has completely routed our political system. We have to get organized. We simply have to. If we don't get organized, if we don't start voting together, if we don't start talking to the people that we know on a personal basis, if we're not willing to put our honor and our reputation on the line and talk to those folks, you have no expectation to change this. It is deeply important that you make the personal commitment to do that. And I would hope that there's one person in this room tonight who says, you know what, I'm going to organize that for this group. I want to be the person that everybody comes to it, and I can look at them and I can say, hey, did you get your person set for next month? I sure did. Perfect. I'm going to ask you next month whether or not you talk to them. Because you got to hold each other accountable. If I just mentally tick it off and I say, oh, you know what? That's a good idea. I'll do that. I'll never get to it. But if I know that Jason's going to go ahead and follow up with me, I have to account to Jason next month. Jason will come to me and he'll say, hey, Brett, did you talk to that person? Not yet, but I'm gonna, right? You have to make the commitment to do it. The other part of this is pledging your fortune. They gave their time, they gave their money. Now, back then they had to give their entire fortune. When they signed the Declaration of Independence, they severed all of their business ties, their family ties, their ties to colonial England, all of that. All done. That's it. So they were totally invested. They were willing to give it all to do this. You don't have to. That's the good news. You don't have to process. Thank you, by the way. So, I have two parts to my definition for patriotism. One is you're willing to make a monthly commitment to talk to somebody you know. The second one is you're willing to donate money monthly. You pay money frivolously for silly things, lotto tickets, coffee. Now maybe that's not so terrible, but you know.
That's a need.
Yeah.
That's a need.
Movies, Netflix, right? That we pay money out for just silly things sometimes on a whim. But I want to ask you, if you had the opportunity to get people in office who would fight for you so that you didn't have to pay attention to politics as much, what would that be worth to you on a monthly basis? So I suggest to people $25. If you got it, that's great. If you've only got 5, do $5 a month. But make a commitment to set aside money on a monthly basis, whether you have a candidate or not. Now, tonight I brought somewhere. Well,
This right here.
yeah, it's right there. Thank you. How did you know? So, as I go around Texas and do this, I have an initiative called Save Money, Save Texas. Very simple. People set aside $25 a month. They can either put it in a jar, put it on the shelf, or they can go ahead and they can set up a savings account through the bank. Automatic deduction out of their paycheck, or the bank automatically has an automatic withdrawal from one account to another account. That's it. Don't know the candidate that you want to support yet? That's okay. In fact, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're setting aside, you've made the monthly commitment to set aside money on a regular basis. If you don't find a candidate you like, the greatest harm you'll suffer is that you saved $300 in a year. Wow, how horrible is that? But if you find a candidate in whom you believe, you've saved $300 you're ready to give. Let me show you how the math breaks out, because this is amazing. Again, this is Save Money, Save Texas. And I apologize, I left all my pamphlets at home. I thought I had a whole box of them, but I forgot I left those at the last meeting. So anyway, here's the math. Ready? If you save $25 a month, over the course of a year, you save $300. If you have somebody running for city council that you want to replace the incumbent who's in office, if 35 people, how many people are here? About 30? Yeah. Great. So anyway, a little bit more, 35 people, that's $10,500 in a city council race. Can you find 35 people to go ahead and cough up money for somebody who's going to represent you in a city council race here? And $10,000 is a big deal in a city council race, yes? Mm-hmm. Big deal. That is a lot of yard signs right there. So, there's that. But let's say that you've got somebody on a bigger, maybe Texas State Rep, Texas Senate, U.S. Rep. Let's say that you've got somebody that you want to replace. 350 people can save up, and when they want to give to that candidate, it's $100,000. Nobody's ever thought of that much money being given, but what if you were part of that group? Now the way this works is, so that it's completely compliant with all of this, I'll break it down for you. It's actually very simple. You're setting aside your money, you're putting it in your jar, there it is, it's sitting on the shelf. I'm going to pick on Rick. Let's say that Rick's running. Okay? So, in fact, that Rick would love it if you would go ahead and support him. Right? So, anyway, so let's say that Rick's running, and you decide that you want to give your money to Rick. You don't just give your money to Rick. Because you know what we do? This is the mistake we make. The mistake we make is that late at night, we just let the dog out, we put the kids to bed, we just got done turning off the TV, brushing our teeth. You know what? I was going to give money to that candidate. We go over, we get online, we type it out, we send it in, there it is. The next day, the candidate doesn't know who we are, they don't know how much we gave, but most importantly, they don't know why we gave. And that's why we're losing. Because the leadership of the party don't believe you bring money to the table. You're voting, good for you, but they don't believe that you're bringing the money to the table. And I will ask you, if Rick announced tonight that he was running for office, no matter what it is, if he said that he was running for office, one of you is going to say, well, how much money have you raised so far? And if Rick said, I've only raised $500, how many people here would think that that's a credible amount to win? Right. We measure the credibility of a campaign by how much money they raise. Whether that's good or bad, doesn't matter. It's true. If we don't support our candidates with the money that we set aside on a monthly basis to give to them later when they're ready to run, our bad. Too many candidates get into the race not believing, and for the right reasons, not believing that they're going to be supported by the grassroots. Whose fault is that? Mine, yours. We have to make a difference. We have to change what we're doing because it's not working. It's not a solution. But what I'm giving you tonight is a solution. Because if just the people right here, if you got behind a city council candidate and you gave that person $10,000, that might be enough to boost them to win. But I'll tell you what it will do. When they announce their campaign and suddenly overnight they've got $10,000 in their campaign coffers, the local media is going to say, "Whoo, we got a race." Because they're going to look at that campaign and believe that it actually might win. I was Dwayne Stovall's campaign manager in his run against John Cornyn. Dwayne Stovall raised $75,000. Nobody thought that he had a chance. But if he'd raised $500,000, I'll bet you that might have been a different story. Different story. We measure the credibility by the amount of money that they raise. So, Rick's running. We decided we want to go ahead and support Rick. Now what happens is, we take that money and we say, you know what? We're not going to give it to Rick yet. We pick out a spokesperson from among our group, somebody who's really level-headed, not going to go ahead and explode and be all angry and everything else like that. So let's say I had Donna do it, right? So, hey, you can't fire your gun anymore because of your shoulder. So anyway, so we have Donna do it. She goes and she sits down with Rick and says, Rick, we've got a very simple list, 2 or 3 items. Do you agree to these things? Rick says, yeah, I'm all about those. You know I believe in those things. That's great. Tomorrow you release a press release saying that you agree to that. I'm going to get a copy of that, give that to all of our people, and then they're going to go ahead and give money individually to your campaign. But here's the list. This is who's going to give money to your campaign. Now they're all giving individually. There's no bundling involved. That's where the IRS and the FEC and the Texas Ethics Commission and everybody else gets involved. You're giving straight to the campaign, no groups. Straight to the campaign, straight to the candidate, for them to market. That's what it's for marketing purposes, so that they can get their name out. Then after they go ahead and they get that, you've got something in signature back, a press release that was given specifically for the purpose that you had an agenda that that candidate agreed to, and when that candidate agreed to it, now you've got something in writing. Guess what? If that candidate decides to go back on their word later, and they say that they don't want to do what they've just agreed to do, you've got a whole bunch of people who had it in writing, who's going to talk to all those friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, people that they go to church with, all that other stuff. They're going to talk to those people and say, that liar, how likely is it that you're going to have somebody do that? And what's more is, if you raise the money to get that guy in office and he bails on you, he betrays you, you get behind the next person, and you get that person in office. You have the power, if you choose to make all the difference in politics. You pledge to each other. They said we mutually pledge to each other. you pledge to each other to go ahead and do this. Somebody in this room, I hope, stands up, says, I'm going to go ahead and take all these names down, who's going to be a part of this. And then you hold each other accountable. In Granbury, which is where I got that jar, they show up with those every meeting and hold them up. Who put their money in this month? 30 hands go up. They get excited about it. They're all like, oh man, this is so cool. Then somebody they're new, they show up, they go, what's that all about? Oh, here's what we're doing. We're saving money. What? You're not giving it to anybody yet? Nope, not yet. Woo, we're waiting for the right person to come along. But you know what? If you've got somebody, though, who's thinking about running, but they're like, I don't know that I'm going to have the support. But they knew that 350 of you were all setting aside your money. And that might come to them if they go ahead and they agree to your agenda. Do you think they're more likely to run? Yes. The thing that keeps most candidates back from running is the fact that they don't think they're going to have your support, but it's already there because you're already saving the money. You've got skin in the game already. Man, in this room there are people with integrity who will not bend on their principles. Yes? They ought to run. And you ought to get behind them before they even announce. That way when it's time, they've already got it. You announce. There's money in their campaign coffers already. The media gives it credibility. Everybody gives it credibility because it's got money. You see how that's a game changer? It's massive. Are there 350 people in the city of Corpus Christi who would go ahead and do this? Yes. If you talk to them. Yes. How many of you remember this iconic painting where George Washington crossed the Delaware all by himself and routed the British that fateful night? No? How about this one? He went across the river. What was that?
It's a Brian Williams was it.
Yeah, you know what? 2,600 people got together and decided to go. Some of them didn't even have shoes. But they went across that night because they had a belief. They were willing to put their lives on the line for freedom. These folks here believed so much in what they were doing, they were willing to go to jail. Now I know that if somebody messed with your family, that you might also be willing to go to jail, yes? There are things for which all of us would be willing to go to jail. So in this case, where would Christianity be today were it not for the Apostle Paul's commitment to do whatever it took? Gandhi, would there be a free India today were it not for his leadership and his commitment to do this? Martin Luther King, or how about Susan B. Anthony, who went ahead and went to jail in 1872 because she said, you know, by my read of the 14th Amendment, which you all just passed, I can vote. So guess what? I'm voting. So she voted. The people at the precinct said, I don't think you can vote. And she said, you know what? Kiss my grits. And she went ahead and she signed it, put it out there, and she voted. You know what they did? They threw her in jail. She said, nuts to you. I'm still going to go ahead and do this. They said, well, we're going to go ahead and fine you and get you in front of a judge. Good. You do that. So she went in front of a judge and they fined her. And she said, let me tell you what you can do with your fine. She said, I am never paying that fine. You know who never paid that fine? She didn't. You know who never went to jail again? She didn't. But you know who kept on voting? She did. And today millions of other women do as well. She was willing to go to jail. It starts with one person making a commitment. And in this room, there's somebody who's going to go ahead and stand up and say, I'm going to organize this. I'm going to do this. What's more is, all of you, after you leave here, you don't have a choice. I have put it on your heart. You walk away from this, you don't really believe in liberty. I'm telling you that straight out. These people did not study the Constitution. They were farmers, blacksmiths. Just plain old folks. That's it. Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, great guys, they did not win you your freedom. They did. Freedom is not won indoors. Freedom is won outdoors. By getting out and talking to people, by going and doing things. I have a definition for effectiveness. You do the right things, right. First of all, do means action. The right things means that you go ahead and you choose something that's solution-oriented, something that looks like it might work. And then you do it right. you do it the right way. If you do the right things right, you should be able to measure everything you do by whether or not it brings more money and whether it brings more people. Are others joining you? I will tell you that I was at this group 4 months ago about that. This is the most diverse group I've spoken to in Texas. Age range, economic status, you name it, across the board. You guys got it going on. Hats off to Rick or whoever else is working with him to go ahead and do this. But I would tell you though that what this is doing right here is powerful. Powerful. Makes a statement every time. So, you're doing the right things right. You're bringing more people. Now focus on bringing more money. Too often when we talk to people, we look like this. We're angry. That's not constitutional. What's wrong with you? I had one guy come up to me after this, and he said, you know that slide with that guy who was talking about unconstitutional? I said, yeah. He said, I didn't know you brought a mirror. I said, that's funny. He said, no, that's true. Anyway, we can't do this. This is what I call the Westboro Baptist method of winning people over to your side.
Don't mention that.
My definition for outreach, positive outside contact. Positive outside contact. Outrage is not outreach. Out-arguing is not outreach. Outsmarting is not outreach. You might have won the argument, you didn't win the voter. Too often we focus on winning the argument and not winning the voter. And these folks here, they left their very comfortable place in Europe to go ahead and cross a treacherous ocean, to go to a place where they didn't know the people, they didn't know the food, they didn't even know the language. And they decided that they would, based upon their faith, open a mission and win people over. Do you think they did it by beating them over the head? No. They went over there and they showed them the love that Christ has. Yes? Would there be a Texas today were it not for a little mission that they created called the Alamo? You have an opportunity to create your mission right here. I need you to remember that winning voters wins the election. So you need to attract people to you. Be attractive. If I asked you to pick one side of this over the other side where you'd want to be, I don't think you'd want to be over here. But too often this is where we wind up. And I'll tell you, politics is passionate stuff. It is difficult stuff. It's hard sometimes to hold it back. Win the voter. Even if they don't agree with you now, they might agree with you later. The toughest campaign I ever saw was a Republican who was running for office up in Iowa. The guy had cheated on his taxes, he cheated on his wife, he cheated his business partners. He had negatives all over the place. He walked up to a door, because he was all about door knocking, right? He walked up to a door, knocked on it. The woman opened the door and said, I recognize you from those commercials. You're that Nazi. He said, I'm not a Nazi. He had a great smile, by the way. 40 minutes later, his yard sign was in their yard because he won them over. Oh, and he also won his election. He was outspent $2.5 million to $50,000. Amazing. All for a state senate race. You're evangelizing freedom. Oh my God, that's so cool. Freedom, equality. I want everybody to be equal. I want everybody to have an opportunity. I want everybody to be free to make decisions and not some bureaucrat in a town far away that they don't know them. You can't make decisions for me. What's wrong with you? I want everybody to have that freedom. So you smile about it and you sell it. You tell people, this is so exciting. If you want political change, you're going to have to commit in your heart tonight to multiply your numbers by talking to more people, one person a month. That's not hard. And by setting aside money every month. Save your money, save Texas. That's it. How many people are you attracting to join you? If nobody's being attracted to join you, talk to somebody, change it up, do it different. Find a solution that works. This is what we encounter on a daily basis. There are people all throughout our lives who are that person sitting on the railroad tracks. And you're here tonight because you're not that person. You're here tonight because you know that there's a freight train that's about to hit you head on. I don't have a front tooth because Obama hit me head on and I don't have the insurance anymore. So I can't get it repaired yet. I have to save up $3,000 to get my mouth repaired, right? All of us know people who've been affected by Obamacare. All of us know people who've been hurt by the government. Remind them, this is happening. All is not well. Don't be that guy. Tell your friends not to be that guy. As I go throughout Texas, I explain to people, it all starts with somebody deciding to challenge an incumbent. That's how you get a revolution. A person who has principles that are uncompromising. A person who then uses those principles to make the decision about how they approach the issues that matter in that race. That too is uncompromising. But then the priorities and the tactics that they choose, those can be compromised. You can bend with what's going on. But your principles and your stance on issues do not bend. Those are the people we need to get behind. They exist in this group. I would hope that if some of you here tonight are thinking about running for office, I would hope that you take this idea and you start putting it to the rest of your decision. Because if you don't run, politics is not a vacuum. If nobody challenges the incumbent, it's not like, well, the incumbent's out of office. We don't have a governor in Texas right now. That doesn't happen. Politics, there's always somebody who's going to be in there, whether it's appointment or whether it's election, special election, whatever. So somebody here can go ahead and run. Or maybe you know somebody who should run, who is unwavering in their principles. Develop a bias for action and results. Make sure that what you're doing is effective and it's working. You want to be the 800-pound gorilla in politics. I know you do. You want to be the one that your candidates and your people in office who are representing you. And he was initially going to vote for Boehner as Speaker. We all called him and said, no, you don't. And he said, you know what? No, I don't. It can work. You can change their mind if they have that idea that they actually want to represent you and listen to you. And if they choose not to, they think they're smarter than you, out. That's it. We don't have time for this. On Facebook, you can find me at Save Money, Save Texas, or you can go to the website, SaveMoneySaveTexas.com. I don't do this to promote me. I do this to promote the idea. That's it. You can run away with this all you want to. That video that he's taking, if it goes up on YouTube, share it. If you think other people would be benefited by having me go talk to them, let them know that I talked. I'm glad to talk to anybody. I just want to promote the idea because I'm tired of losing. Are you tired of losing? So I want to ask you then, because I ask this of every group, tonight, are you committed to talk to one person per month? And are you committed to set aside money every month to go ahead and save Texas? Yes?
Yes.
Show of hands. I'm going to put you on the spot. Mutually pledge right here. Thank you. And God bless you.